And welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose, where we eat paper with honey. That's right. I have no idea what that was all about. But anyway, what it does teach us, of course, is an age-old truism, which is, if you're an idiot, never make a bet with a dangerous man. And that's why I never bet with Carmack anymore. Moving swiftly on from that, it's time to focus on a different kind of match. But I just want to get your thoughts on Revival's comeback in that game, because we had a bit of fun with him on the couch, but instead I really probably should have asked him about the comeback, because he was 1-0 down, and when you're 1-0 down in a best of three, you can lose those matches very easily.
Yeah, it really did feel like First kind of turned off the gas pedal a little bit. Of course, I mean, going for an immortal push in the second game wasn't really the slowdown from game number one, but game three was him saying, kind of residing to the fact that he felt comfortable in this particular build, which just got shut down on multiple avenues. And
yeah, it felt a bit half-hearted in a way. It felt like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, maybe I'm not. Oh, no, actually, I'm going to change. I'm going to do this push. Well, maybe I'm not. It just didn't seem like he was fully committed. Do you worry sometimes that he's like the Protoss version of Happy? You know, he just plays the same kind of standard, safe builds and doesn't really risk anything, doesn't be kind of crazy like he used to maybe 2 years ago?
No, I don't want to go as that far. I don't want to go as that far, because he has these really aggressive builds that are really, really cool. But I think Harstam said it very well on the cast, which is that as much as the build from game number one was brilliant. It looks fantastic when it's all executed perfectly, when all these steps line up again and again and again on a map like King Sejong. But it's difficult to use that build again in a similar series, because you kind of know what's going to be coming at each of the stages, and maybe you prepare better for that like initial 4-gate pressure, etc. So as much as the build looks brilliant, it's something that first... He personalizes these builds. He makes it very, very strong for one occasion, but it's an isolated occasion.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on now to Polt versus Jaedong, which is always a blockbuster for many reasons. It's sort of King Kong versus Captain America. It's an age-old thing. Who's going to stand on top of the Empire State Building at the end of this game? Because we're in America, I thought I'd play along with the American theme. But in all seriousness, where has Jaedong been in 2014? Because he hasn't been the kind of force that we saw him in 2013, despite all of those second places.
I think there's been a lot of people that have said that Jaedong has had a good year. To me, I don't think he really has had a good year. I think that obviously 2013 was a lot better for him. It was a lot of second places, but he was constantly always there. I mean, second place at BlizzCon. Whereas 2014 for me has not only been lackluster in my opinion. I think Jaedong looks at it as well and probably thinks, what have I done? What have I done this year? Where have I really got to? I mean, he got knocked out in the first round of BlizzCon this year. Obviously, that's not what Jaedong wants. Jaedong has the mind and heart of a champion.
And we should also mention that he barely qualified as well. Only it was results from everywhere else that went wrong that allowed him to get in the first place. So form in the early part of the year was probably enough to carry him through.
And the only reason we're really so harsh on a player like Jaedong is because Jaedong's a champion. Jaedong has the lineage of StarCraft 1. Throughout that, he had 2013, which was a good year. Despite second place, finishing in second, you still get quite a bit of cash. So
yeah, absolutely. No, he had a great year last year. Polt, on the other hand, one of those few players in the world that seems to have won in every year for the last 4 years. He's ultra consistent, seems to be at the top of his game almost entirely, regardless of balance issues or buffs or nerfs or whatever's happening in the game. He seems to be the one guy, maybe alongside Tasia as well perhaps, that seems to consistently deliver tournament victories and great results all the way through. And this should be no different, should it?
Definitely. I actually had a long conversation with some people about Polt and how he approaches the game a few days ago. I think it was during DreamHack, actually. But basically, it's two aspects for me that really shine out for Polt amongst so many other StarCraft players, which is, one, his attitude towards the game. When do you ever see Polt sad? Never. When do you ever see him complaining about a situation? Never. He just gets on with things. And also, the second part is that he is, in general, just a very, very intelligent person, not only inside StarCraft, but outside StarCraft as well. And I think that really, really helps in a game like StarCraft where things are so mentally demanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Different kettle of fish, so to speak, today, because he's going to be playing a Zerg. The beginning of this year, we were talking about how strong Protoss players were, and they were really coming to the fore. They'd really figured it out. And he was one of the few players that could seemingly get in amongst them. And I mean, I remember back to Cologne, it was Protoss every round, and he just, went all the way through and almost won the whole thing in the end. But he seems to be able to adapt very quickly as well. Jaedong, on the other hand, has always been a strong player in these situations, in the group stages. It's always been his forte, if you like, to get through the groups. But this is a very difficult group for him for a number of reasons. His old JVZ, or ZVZ as it used to be known, it was always exceptional. But even that hasn't carried him through this year.
Yeah, not so much. I think it will be a difficult group, as you're saying, when you've got someone like Polt who never really slips off and is always pretty consistent across all matchups. There's never really a particular moment where someone like Polt
I'm just going to stop you there. Look at them on the screen right now. Such a contrast. Oh, initially smiling. I mean, that's a big contrast. It really is.
As I say, I mean, Polt's always happy. Polt's always happy. And then Jaedong is always a killer. So even regardless of when he may not be winning as much as he used to or whatever, he is always having that kind of killer's instinct that will be the thing that pushes him forwards, whereas Polt's just smiling and happy.
I actually just want to watch Polt versus CJ Enter's Hero, just to see how many smiles they can do while they're losing. Because I'm pretty sure that they're both smiling assassins in some kind of way, because they're both smiling and both winning the matches. With regards to this particular matchup today, with the way that they've both come into this, they haven't had to fight their way through these horrible 2 open brackets, which Revival discussed earlier on. It's the 3rd time he's had to come through these damned open brackets. He hates them, and yet he somehow still gets through. These two are coming into this very fresh today, and that can sometimes be a bad thing as well as a good thing.
Yeah, I think that Jaedong was at DreamHack, right? And unfortunately didn't have quite the result he wanted, obviously, there. Very, very stacked lineup. Terran doing very well right now. Polt, on the other side of things, probably is, I mean, he's always super consistent. And then to say that Terran is in a very, very good position right now, that's really going to be playing on the mind of Jaedong going up against a guy like Polt, who is always good anyway. So...
Is Polt the heavy favourite in this game, despite the fact that we talk about this history and how fantastic Jaedong's career has been?
I would go with Polt. I think I've done all right today in terms of prediction, aside from the fact that first just lost. But the first game, the initial game was really good. I think I got to go with Polt here, yeah. Okay,
well, if we were going off first games only, James would be top of the South Fantasy League right now. Unfortunately, he's not. Instead, we're going to go into our 4th game of the day, our 2nd in Group B, to find out who goes through to play Revival in San Jose. This is a big game for both players. Enjoy this one with Polt versus Jaedong.
Thank you very much, Red Eye, and welcome here to the casting desk with my best friend Rotterdam once again. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited for this one. This one, even though they haven't played super often against each other, in my book, it's a little bit of a classic. Because anyone who beats Jaedong 4-0 in the tournament final, for the rest of the StarCraft 2 career, that's going to be a special matchup. You know that Jaedong is never going to forget that series. He did have his revenge once upon a time at Lone Star Clash 3. That happened in May early this year. I was there as well. He defeated Polt 4-2. That was a very good map pool back then for Jaedong. They played against each other again in Season 3. That time, Polt was able to win 2-0. And I met Polt earlier today. He was pretty relaxed as always. I was like, how are you feeling, Polt? He's like, I'm good, but JD is so strong. I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, no, really, Jaedong's so strong. But I think I'm going to win.
I think he's feeling slightly confident coming into this one for sure. Of course, Jaedong hasn't had the best year compared to last, but I think when we say Jaedong hasn't had a good year, I think that's a really bad thing to say looking at his year, because he didn't have 5 finals this year, but he's had at least 5 top 4 finishes and multiple top 8 finishes this year. Just because he's not really getting to finals and winning doesn't necessarily say you've had a bad year.
No, but it's also that most of his success was in the earliest stage of 2014. And at StarCraft 2, we kind of live day by day, or at least month by month. And if someone doesn't perform 2, 3, maybe 4 tournaments in a row, wow, what happened to Jaedong? I think he doesn't want to talk about it because no one talks about Fight Club, but I think he knows about Fight Club.
I spoke to him actually up there. I went and asked him, I go, what's that on your face, mate? And he goes, well, I had a fight. And I go, no, you didn't. He goes, yeah, I did. I go, you didn't. And he goes, no, I fell over on the ice. Korea. But of course, Polt, all smiles and joy as always. A happy guy to have around the studios. But of course, Jaedong versus Polt, our 4th game of the day about to take place. This game has been played multiple times over the years. It does favour Polt, as Roddy's already said, but who will it favour today? The winner of this will go up against Revival in the winners match on Saturday. But for now, let's jump into game number 1 is up here to the top right. Sponsored by CM Storm. It's, of course, Polt. the resident Captain America, the US visa holder, and a great tyrant.
And of course, if he wins this one, he goes up against his teammate in the winner bracket match that will be played on Saturday in the big stadium. And as you guys can see over here, the 6 o'clock position of merry-go-round, we have the one and only Jaedong himself. It is Jaedong. Big series for Jaedong, Sean. Very, very big series for him. This is a difficult group on paper, but not a group that's impossible for Jaedong to get out of. You know, we can look a little bit about the matchups. Polt his TvZ lately. It's not what it was. He has lost against players like Armani. Soxcree is very good. We lost against him as well. And he had another one that I just saw that he lost recently too. And those were just players that Polt, in top shape, is not losing to the Armanis of this world. You know, no, normally Polt does a little bit better than that. Jaedong, of course, practiced crazy amount of ZVT for his round of 16 matchup that he had at BlizzCon. And I know it's a couple of weeks ago, but at that moment you worked so hard towards that one matchup that he probably still feels relatively okay in this. You know, Tyrant is good, as we all know, but he gave Bomber a very good run for his money. He was up 2-1, lost the series eventually, but still. Probably played a whole lot of TvZs, and ever since that he didn't lose a single TvZ. Now, it's not like he played 8 series, but he did beat Yoda, for instance, at Home Story Cup, and I think, you know, defeating Yoda in this matchup, that means something, because I'm always impressed with Yoda's TvZ, so the fact that Jaedong beat him at Home Story, that's a good sign for him and all the Jaedong fans out there.
I think Jaedong's pretty good Zerg versus Terran. I think it's probably his strongest matchup once again. I mean, it's been his weakest, but I think it may be his strongest currently. But one thing I think we have to keep in consideration is there's been a lot of esports events. There's been a lot of StarCraft events over the last 4 weeks, and Jaedong's competed in every single one of them, from BlizzCon to Home Story Cup to DreamHack Winter and back over here to the West Coast of America to compete again, and that definitely will take its toll.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Polt is in general a player that travels a lot, but hasn't been as busy as Jaedong. But still went to a couple of tournaments. He didn't go to the Home Story Cup. He did play in the qualifier, but that's where he lost against Soxcree in the semifinals, I believe. The other Zerg he lost to, by the way, was Impact at the recent DreamHack that you were at, Sean. So also, you know, Impact, of course, a very strong Zerg player, but Polt, when he's at his absolute best, he's the guy that can win any tournament he enters. Yep. So I don't really expect Polt to lose against players like that. So we'll see. I'm very interested in this series, and I think it could be, in Paul's words, a cracker.
A cracking good game, this one. Single Reaper expansion here for Polt, who's going to fall back, of course, on the reactor, followed by the factory. Whereas Jaedong went hatchery first and took a pretty fast gas here. I think it's pretty normal in this matchup to take that fast gas, because without it, especially on a map like this, trying to take your third base is going to be difficult if you rely just on queens and slow Zerglings.
Of course, you don't want to lose any drones in this phase in the game. Like we always say, a player like Jaedong is not supposed to lose a drone. You have to micro them for a solid 10 to 15 seconds, but you have a few Zerglings to make life easier. And as soon as your queen pops, you don't have to worry all that much anymore about the Reaper. I'm going to keep a close eye on Polt's follow-up, because Polt has been switching up his openings a lot. In the old days, I know that these two, by the way, I'm not going to say that they don't like each other, but they have a little bit of a rivalry. In the old days, like Jaedong was kind of upset with the fact that Polt played the exact same style every single game. This was 2013, and then he was still doing so well with it. I heard him like kind of mumble about it a few times behind the scenes. I mean, it's common knowledge. Of course, like they are friendly at each other when they meet each other at LAN, but there was something that kind of stung Jaedong a little bit, you know, because he was trying to find different ways to deal with it. He was trying to be creative, think outside of the box, and then he had Polt, who just always opened up with that one Viking, that one safety Marauder, and then followed up with very steady play. But over the last 6 to 9 months, Polt has been definitely kind of trying to refine himself in this matchup. Of course, we remember that Battlegrounds North America adventure where Polt lost 3 back-to-back best of 3s against Scarlet, and ever since then Polt's like, all right, I need to change something in this matchup, because whatever I'm doing right now, it's not going to cut it for me.
He's staying a little bit true to the style that Polt's played over the last year or so, is that he hasn't rushed out the third command center. He's dedicated all of his resources to production available, command center, barracks, and factory, and has even now thrown down an armory really early on.
Yep, it's something we saw 4GG, of course, be very successful with at the most recent DreamHack. Hellbats. They're suddenly making a return to this beautiful game that we like to play and watch. Huh?
But Jaedong has a Baneling Nest. I don't know how much he's scattered with Overlords, but he's thrown down a Baneling Nest no matter what at this point. I think it's very smart to do so. He doesn't know what's going on. It is very popular, as you said, to build Hellbats, and if you didn't have a Baneling Nest, you're just going to outright die to this. if Jaedong gets detonations and actually does well with this, he'd find himself in a lead.
Yeah, it's funny because in the old days we always thought that you needed a Roach Worm, but now we kind of figured out that a Baneling can get the job done as well, as these Zerglings do manage to pick off one SCV, but that's about it. I really felt like they were able to sneak through for a second.
But he wasted all his Zerglings. He has none left currently, and unless he builds some right now, these Hellbats can do a lot of damage. 12 Zerglings on the way. Okay, he's got a couple of emergency ones with 3 Queens. And are we going to see this defense here? He cannot afford to lose this hatchery.
The hatch is going to take damage, but I think Jaedong is going to be able to save it. He's morphing a couple of Zerglings as well on the right side of our screen, as Flo is showing us right now. And as soon as these Banelings are ready, I think he's going to be okay. Even though these Hellbats are pushing out a surprising amount of damage. But of course, Queens have Transfuse. Don't want to be off creep. Whoa, here come the Baneling shot.
Yeah, he's going to have to spread these Hellbats, make sure he doesn't take the maximum damage that Jaedong wants. But the Zergling is going to help to wrap around here and try to get all these down. And pretty good split here. The Banelings try to detonate. They do the best they can possibly do. And Jaedong is going to clear this up without too much trouble. He's got a couple of backup Zerglings and Queens left over to deal with the rest, and back to Drone City almost at this point.
Yeah, I would say so. It's safe to go back to Drone City as well. Now we see that third command center on the production tab, but it's a lot later than Polt used to do in his glory days of this matchup.
Yeah.
This was a push that you could say, was it successful? Well, he forced out Zerglings, he forced out a few Banelings, and that hatchery is low HP. I would really like to see Jaedong maybe make another Queen with sole purpose of just healing up that hatchery a little bit, because we all know Zerg needs to be on 3 bases in this matchup. And whenever there is a hatch, especially against Polt, as we all know he loves to snipe main buildings, at 150 HP, you're bound to lose it eventually. So I would really like to see Jaedong squeeze out another Queen and use that one just to heal up that hatchery.
I definitely feel that Jaedong's taken a small lead in this game, for sure. It's not a big one, but a small lead in itself, but Polt can definitely still work it back up to equalize this game, and moves like this are the way to do it. Just a single drone, potentially could have got more, but did not want to lose those Hellions. He'd lose map control, he'd give Jaedong the complete access to this game.
And of course, Polt didn't know where the Zerglings were, so before you know it, you overextend a little bit, and then suddenly 18 Zerglings show up, surround your Hellions, you lose them. And these are Hellions that Polt can really use with his first big bio push. We saw him throw down a lot of Rexes. Jaedong is going to try to engage these Hellions in the middle of the map, and as I thought that would be not a very smart decision, as the Hellion number was more than enough to deal with these Zerglings.
Absolutely there. Jaedong hoping for a mistake from Polt, but control, perfect there.
Yep, off creep it's very hard to get it surrounded. Man, Jaedong ends up losing all of these Zerglings. If you take a look at the amount of Zerglings that have died this game, 42 already throughout the entire game. He has to be really careful. This is still not enough, Jaedong. Well, okay, Polt is actually sleeping on the job there a little bit.
Yeah, but still, Jaedong a little bit wasteful there. Doesn't really need to do that at all. Wow. There is no reason for that. He's lost all his Zerglings, and the Hellions still have their main job in this game, which is joining up with his Bioforce, which is almost ready now. 1-1, very close. Combat shields even closer, and the first 2 Medivacs are on their way. And this push, Jaedong must not take damage from it. He could try to counter-attack, but with the amount of units that he's lost currently, he doesn't have the units to do so, the numbers. He must defend this push.
I like what you said there, Sean, counter-attack, because that's truly what he was looking for at one moment when he was hiding 20 or so Zerglings on the right side of the map. We see Life being ridiculously successful with it all the time. For some reason, whenever Life makes Zerglings, Terran players lower their depots and say, come on in, kill those SUVs, but not... no luck for Jaedong so far.
Jaedong's looking for it now. He knows his push is about to move out, and he swings around this right-hand side. And is he going to go up the depots here? Oh, he gets 2 Marines, and the depot is down, so Jaedong is inside. This delays the push from Polt, who has to come back from the center of the field here. He's running back, and this is very good here for Jaedong. It gets him closer to his 2-2 upgrades. It gets him more time to get more units out. Even if he doesn't kill a lot here, it's more so about the time that he gained, because Polt was on that push down south.
Totally agree, Sean. Yes, he's going to end up losing all of these Zerglings, as there's no way out for them, but Polt is losing mining time, lost a few SCVs in the process, and above all, he was forced to retreat all the way home. Right now, all these Marines could have been shooting at these Queens, could have been working on that hatchery. Now, for instance, Jaedong is going to get an extra creep tumor down. He's going to get a little more vision. He also saw the size of that army, gets 14 Mutalisk on the production tab, so these Mutas can start helping in the main fight as well by working on these Medivacs. Very good run by there for Jaedong.
Very comfortable game here from Jaedong, and actually very clean play overall here. Minimal mistakes, aside from the Zerglings he lost earlier. Very good play. He's going to come in for another counter-attack here. Not sure this is the best move.
Those are slow Banelings, Sean. They are not rolling.
Oh yeah, they're not rolling. And that is an upgrade that he has missed.
Last time I checked, you want to see those boys rolling.
Yeah, that is the #1 mistake that he's made in this game, but it's very easy to get that.
I may hope that he noticed it now.
I think he thinks it may be still hasn't researched at all here, and that can actually cost him this.
This is painful.
that attack really didn't do too much there. He just kind of ran into the Marines. He didn't get to the economy line, which he wanted to do at that point. He's got fantastic creep spread. He's got the 4th base pretty much up and running, but the lack of bailing speed here
that really worries me.
Is huge.
Yep, of course on creep they may still get a couple of connections here and there, but Jaedong really needs to start getting bailing speed. It's one of the most important upgrades in this matchup. The moment you get it, your bailings are just going to get a lot better detonations, especially against a player like Polt. He is good when it comes to splitting units and stuff. Everything is going well, okay, even though that attack before didn't go that well, still, as long as Polt is defending, I think Jaedong is okay with that, because he's getting upgrades. He's slowly but steady starting to get that 4th base. You know, the hatchery is done. Hasn't really saturated yet, but we still see it. That bailing nest, it's not wiggling, and I like to see it wiggle, 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 Sean.
You love to see things wiggle, 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 Roddy. I know you do, but there's a drop coming down to this natural. That's going to pull Jaedong apart. The Mule's been so aggressive that they also need to keep intact. Their main focus and the main goal of this game is to prevent drops from happening. This is going to pull Jaedong's attention down while Polt pushes through the middle. And with this push, going into an army that doesn't have bailing speed, Mule is caught in the back here. This is obviously not looking too good for Jaedong. He's down a little bit in the supply. He now starts bailing speed for the first time, but a golden minute or two here for Polt to take full advantage of.
And let's not forget about the drop in the main base that Flo is showing us now as well. It's been doing some work, got a couple of drones in the natural, still forcing a lot. Ooh, Widowmine's getting a couple of hits on this Mutalisk. But still, that was a successful drop for Polt as well. Also allowed him to pick off quite a few of these Crypto ones. Another scan goes down in the main. Jaedong really needs to buy like 60 seconds, and I'm not sure how he's supposed to do it, because the Muta number is not massive. He has lost 5 Mutalisks throughout this game. He has 14 now, having 19. 19 Mutalisks is so much more intimidating.
Jaedong had a lead in the early game and the mid game, but as we enter the late stages of the mid game, he's around this 4th base, which he cannot use efficiently, and with Polt controlling the center of the map, it's going to be very easy for him to control the upper ground and the lower ground.
Jaedong really needs to fly around with an Overseer as well. He has 2 of them on the map, but he doesn't see it right now. There are a lot of Widowmines here. He knows about a couple. Oh, what a beautiful shot there. Like I said, he knows about a couple of them, but he didn't see all of them, and that's what happens.
This is a fantastic opportunity here for Polt to win map number 1. He's taken his 4th base uncontested. He has position on Jaedong, the Thor, doing lots of damage to these Mules, and all he's got to do is maybe put some Widow Mines underneath that cliff on the 4th base of Jaedong, lift some units and ferry them to the high ground, and he's going to find himself in a position forcing Jaedong into a fight that he doesn't want to take yet.
Yep, well, wow, that Widow Mine actually detonates as well. These Thor's getting really big shots up on these Mutalisks. There's another Widow Mine there. Oh, man, this went really bad for Jaedong. His Muta count just went from 14 to 5. He's taking damage at his 4th base as well from this drop. Bailing speed is finally ready, as we can see, but with 3-3 on the way, and let's not forget about this 4th base taking completely uncontested by Polt. Missile turrets going up. This is looking very, very good for the Terran player that's representing Kulamas's Storm.
Yeah, absolutely. Jaedong cannot mine from his 4th base here, and that's exactly what you want as a Terran player. You're taking your 4th. He's bringing down these Bailings. The 2-2 Marines can even take on these Mulists. There's hardly any of them left. Jaedong is banking on one big, good fight. But as we see the army supply, it's not even the same value currently to Polt. Jaedong, who's hoping for that big fight to work, is going to have to also at the same time hope for Polt to make a big mistake too.
Yep, and I'm not sure how he's supposed to get that really good fight when he doesn't even have the money to max out. He's been throwing away most of his Banelings. He does have 100 Zerglings on the map. That's kind of nice, but you know, just Zerglings is not going to cut it unless you can actually morph them into Banelings. Is Jaedong going to go for it? There are a lot of Widow Mines positioned as well over here in the middle of the map. He does have a very respectable amount of Zerglings, as we can see, but a couple of massive Widow Mine shots is going to make this a very good engagement either way for Polt.
Super lack of efficiency there with the Banelings attacking into the Thor, and Jaedong down 20 supply. He did do a lot of damage to Polt, but when you don't have the same economy as Polt, you can't do equal amounts of damage.
In a 19-minute game, Jaedong has lost 290 Zerglings.
Yeah, 3rd base goes down. He's not even mining from his 4th. He's in so much trouble at this point. Polt continues to rebuild what he's lost. He's back up to 162 supply, drags Jaedong back into the main base here, who's attempting to go up to high for some reason here. It's not going to be useful. It's not going to work for him in this game with 3-3 upgrades, 30 seconds away from completing. This is going one way, and it's the right direction.
Well, that is if you have a Terran heart. If you bleed blue for Jaedong, it's not going to be in the right direction.
You're going to be bleeding a lot of blue during this series, I think.
In the wrong way.
In the wrong way here. There's a couple of pickups here from Polt looking to just make sure this is all his. It's 174, and all he needs to do is continue to put the pressure onto Jaedong, who is down in money, down in units, and he's going to be down in game number 1 in a couple of seconds here, fighting with everything he's got left, but as you see, The Mule Hammer is there, and the ultimate game ender, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, are those upgrades about to complete, only seconds away, and this is where Marines won't stop stimming and winning.
Well said, John, well said. Jaedong trying to re-establish his base, no cancel on it either. Jaedong knows by now that this game is pretty much over. 179 supplies knocking on his fourth base. He is going to be forced to evacuate these drones. Unfortunate for Jaedong, didn't have to be. He got a couple of okay detonations later on, but by now, you know, even if Polt ends up losing 5 Marines to every single bailing Jaedong produces, he is still going to win this game because his economy is just that much better. He can take bad trades for days. Polt knows it. GG by Jaedong, and Polt goes up 1-0. In a game that I don't think Jaedong had to lose, at least not like this.
Yeah, definitely. He was in the lead at the point where the game turned drastically in favor of Polt, and it was that upgrade that you pointed out. It surrendered the halfway point of this game. It just gave it back to Polt. It was all in Jaedong's favor. He gave it away, and at this level of competition, at this level of StarCraft, if you give an opponent that type of advantage, he's not going to let it go.
Nope. This was one of the bigger fights that we had in this game. A couple of, I believe, big winner my shots as well went down after this. Polt just did it really well. As soon as he got that fight going for himself, and oh, this is where most of the Mutalists died.
Well, it's funny because I really felt that Jaedong was forced, like, kind of emotionally to get damage done and do a lot with the Mutalist because he didn't have the bailing speed. And then, as soon as that happened, Polt took the drop, started pushing, and it all started to crumble there.
Yep, a little bit unfortunate for JD because everything looked fine early on. Yes, he took a lot of damage on that hatchery, but he didn't lose it. He eventually got the one run by that he was looking for. Didn't do a detrimental amount of damage, but he did something that's often even more important in StarCraft 2, and that is buying time. If you're just waiting for things to finish up, if you're waiting for your macro to explode as a Zerg player, forcing the Tyrant that's already halfway through, making its way over to your side of the map, to come all the way back and deal with, you know, what is it in the end, 25 Zerglings? Like, that's nothing. Jaedong was producing Zerglings at a rapid pace throughout the entire game. At the end of that game, over 400 Zerglings had died. That kind of reminds me, those are like live numbers, but then life most of the time is still on the good end of those trades.
He usually is here, and Jaedong needs to do that as well if he wants to beat Polt. He has to win the next 2 in a row to find himself in the winner's game. At the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose this coming weekend is up here to the top left-hand side as the Red Zerg player playing for Team Evil Geniuses. It's all about the thug life. It's all about Jaedong. That's right, Roddy. Sit down. Yeah, thug life, man.
I know what it is, Sean.
Thug life.
And of course, on the south side of King Sejong Station, we have the blue Tyrant player that wants to meet his teammate in the winner bracket match. It is Cooler Master Storm's Polt. Polt, of course, has a fair share of experience playing tournaments on American soil. He's been here for so long. Same can be said for Jaedong, but I don't think there's like any player in the history of StarCraft 2 that has played as many tournaments in America as Polt.
He is Captain America for a reason. He's had a pretty successful year, not quite as successful as 2013, where he did kind of dub the name Captain America after the double WCS America Championship that he took. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's... I really dislike when people compare one year to the other and say, oh, that was a terrible year he had. Because Polt still this year has been to 4 finals. That is not easy to do. If it was, I'd do it as well.
And he was the second player in StarCraft 2 history to defeat Tasia in the tournament final.
The second player in history. Rotterdam, who was the first?
Hero.
Oh, of course you got that one right. Rotterdam is the knowledge book.
I was there.
StarCraft 2.
I was there. That was my last
We were
dream.
there.
Yeah.
We were there.
I know.
Don't say you were there.
I still remember one thing from those games as well.
What's
where
that?
Tasia went for a 1-base all-in on Ohana against Hero, and Hero was using observers all the time, forcing Tasia to scout or to scan on 1 base, but he was actually going up to DTs behind it, and I thought it was the smartest thing ever, because when the DTs were finally revealed, Tasia had no detection, and he only had 1 orbital. I was like, oh, Liquid Hero, you cheeky.
You cheeky guy. Right, you don't forget anything, do you?
I forget a few things now.
You forget the things you want to forget.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I've learned about you.
You know what it is, Sean.
Money's money, man. All right, command center first here for Jaedong. I mean, for Polt. A bit of a switch up here, whereas Jaedong just kind of playing pretty similar to the previous game. Of course, hatchery first, spawning Polt, followed by the gas. So he is going to invest himself into that Zergling speed quite early on. But Polt, where does he go from this? He could play incredibly greedy from this if he wanted to with a very fast third base, but that's not his style, to be fair. He's not the type of player who grabs that third command center very fast, very early on.
No, in the old days he did because he just felt so safe with it. But it was a different day and age in this matchup. So we're most likely going to see Polt be remotely aggressive again. Of course, follow it up economically eventually, but at least have some early game presence. Don't give too much freedom to a player like Jaedong that we know traditionally, of course, loves to drone up as well. Just like my fellow Dutch Zerg brother, Red.
That's right, man. It's a game of drones. I think one thing that Polt can take from game 1 to game 2 here to make sure he does win this 2-0 is that Jaedong's looking... Well, his overall strategy has been pretty much counterattacks. I mean, that's what it looked like in the previous game. So as Polt, that is something that must be at the top of your mind of like, all right, don't let him counter me and don't take damage. Don't let him buy the time he wants to do. And if you play solid, then you're going to be okay usually.
Yeah, and I think this is not one of the best maps out there to counterattack. Of course, you can counterattack on any moment, because when an army is out on the map, you can always try to backstab it or force it to retreat. But this is not a Nimbus, for instance, where the reinforcements distance for Polt is going to be extremely far away from his either natural or his third base, or maybe eventually his fort. But I'd be very surprised if he would take his fort in the middle. Most of the time, you just take it in the left corner. So this is a map I think Jaedong is going to have a slightly different approach to it all. Even though, you know, it started off all right for him, but I totally agree with you. After that first game, Polt is probably like, ooh, man, he really tried hard to go for those run buys. I perhaps dodged the bullet over here. Let's make sure I raise those depots. So Jaedong needs to do more than just rely on a run buy.
Well, Polt is playing very safe here. He's thrown down a lot of supply depots very early on to actually wall off his second base here. Knowing that the Zergling speed's pretty fast in this game, he didn't want to run into any Zergling rush, or something that Jaedong is definitely capable of doing. And at the same time, has decided to go over to Hellion Banshee. That it looks like currently, I suppose it technically still could be a Viking or a Medivac, but more than likely here, with a double gas bin taken, is going to push himself to Hellion Banshee. Again, a pretty defensive style, yet with aggressive potential.
This is such a big series for Jaedong, though. Of course, we often say that when we play a tournament as big as the Intel Extreme Masters, but if Jaedong wins this one, he goes up against Revival for a spot at the final 8 in one of the biggest venues we have seen in StarCraft 2, and that's really where you want to see Jaedong. And in a weird way, I always feel that Jaedong feeds off massive crowds as well.
Absolutely.
Like he doesn't feel the pressure. Like, no, that makes him a better StarCraft 2 player. Great scout there by Jaedong. So if he is able to even up this series, then maybe he gets that extra momentum going to go into game number 3. And if he goes up against Revival, then Jaedong is my favorite for that series.
Yeah, I think he definitely is, to be honest. I have to agree with you there. Jaedong got good scouting information with an Overlord just now that has pushed him into the Spore Crawlers. He saw the Starport with the Tech Lab. He knows that Banshees are on their way. Doesn't know if it's Cloak or not, which in this case it isn't. But still, of course, you don't want to be taking drone damage. He has a much better upgrade lead here because of the money that Polt's thrown into this.
It was Cloak initially, though, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think Polt just cancelled it after he killed the Overlord. But that's something that's probably in the back of Jaedong's mind as well. It's like, oh, I saw it, and I know that Terran players are capable of cancelling Cloak. That kind of fell out of fashion ever since Cloak became a little cheaper, but some players still just do it, and Polt only made a single Banshee this game. But hey, Jaedong has been watching those 4GG games, and he knows not to take those Banshees too lightly.
Yeah, actually, Jaedong to attempt to go into these hinds again. This is the third or fourth time he's done this, and it just doesn't work. You've got to stop doing that.
Especially off creep, upper ramp against Hellion numbers this high. Like if it's 4 Hellions, like yeah, go ahead, go for it. Try to get that surround. If it doesn't work, you lose a few Zerglings. But don't try to do it against 8 Hellions, because even if he surrounds it, he's still not going to kill it. Even if Polt reacts late to that all, he won't get a surround on 8 Hellions. Like he didn't have the numbers for that.
Yeah, and he's having to build a lot more Zerglings now, as the threat of anything from these Hellions is definitely possible. Baneling Nest coming in, timed up with the lair so he can get that Baneling speed hopefully in this game. But the Banshee did get a couple of kills towards the back there, 3 I think.
Yeah, I got 3 drones. It's not too bad. That's probably more than you expect when you see 4 Spore Crawlers being thrown down as well, and you cancelled Cloak. And let's not forget that Banshee is still full on HP, so it can still be annoying, can still pick off maybe a creep tomorrow or 2.
Jaedong trying to catch those Hellions, but they've darted to the right, where he wasn't expecting them to go.
The Queens are going to spot the Hellions.
Looks like he may get them now, though.
Yeah, I think this time he's going to get this around. This Banshee is going to take down a few more drones before it will perhaps eventually fall against that Queen. But here we go, Jaedong, this is really where you want to get that surround. This time you do have the numbers, and he will clean them up. Polt doesn't even bother, or he just reacted to it very late. But well done there by Jaedong. That's a nice little pick-off. This Banshee is up to 6 kills now, so.
Yeah, 6 kills. I think it's, the 6 kills is nice, but losing the Hellions kind of balances that out again. As Jaedong's able to drone quite heavily and really improve his economy from this point. 1-1 upgrades have completed for Jaedong, and he is going to start 2-2. A counter-attack has been launched, but into nothing here. As you can see, there's already a defense set up. He may get a couple of SCVs. There's only 1 or 2 down here. He just gets 1 and then we'll get out.
No bailing speed yet.
No, not again.
I'm getting a little nervous, Sean.
Don't tell me he's forgot it again.
I don't think that's going to be the case, but I'm surprised that he would prioritize Overlord speed over bailing speed.
There it is.
All right, that's good.
Everybody, it's okay.
Well,
In control, don't worry. He's got it.
Jeff just chucked 2 cans of Monster. He's like, oh, don't do this to me, Jaedong.
Oh, you don't know how true that is. Alright, so 1-1 upgrades are going to complete from Polt, and we will start to see the first Tyrant push of Zerg versus Terran here. As he can actually do some damage, and if things get a bit sticky, he can also always pick up and get out. The medivac's about to pop.
Yeah, overall this has been alright for Jaedong, other than that one small misengagement with a few Zerglings. After that, eventually he did get the job done. He's up to 72 drones, he has those 2 upgrades on the way. He's going to lose a few creep tumors here, but you know, this is, you could say, in a weird way, it's kind of a good thing that his creep was this far out. It's a little bit unfortunate that with 1 scan, Polt catches pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Very good scan there by Polt, well placed. Gets all the active tumors and also the wave before, so Jaedong basically has to renew 2 waves of creep tumors. But other than that, I think this is very playable. It will all come down to the engagements. How often we see, you know, there's no such thing as a timing attack anymore, unless he would just produce nothing but Zerglings and Banelings when 2-2 hits. But that's not something you normally do. From this point on, this matchup comes down to execution. It comes down to the engagements.
And the one thing that really helps that is the creep spread, which isn't that good in this game anymore. It has been cleaned up. 4th base gets cancelled. Jaden's going to look around. There's a Widowmine. We can see it right there. It's going to detonate. Kills off about 8 or so.
I don't really like this fight.
There.
It's very, very hard to fight as a Zerg player, even though Jaedong does clean up most of these units on the left side, but Polt picked up a couple of them as well. It's very difficult when there are Terran army or Terran units on 2 sides of the battle. Your Banelings, they will always just kind of start running around a little bit. Left, right, left, right. There are Widowmites burrowing again. Will they get the detonations that Polt is hoping for? Those are actually not the greatest, but he still has quite a few Marines over here. 1 Baneling sort of connects. Oh, that went alright for Jaedong.
It went alright, and 2-2's about to complete now, so he may be able to rush this 3rd base and potentially break it, as there are 8 Marines and a medevac on the other side of the map, which obviously very useful at this point in time. The wall is closed, but Jaedong, how far is he going to go? This medevac is going to do a lot of damage. The Overlord spread, considering he did get Overlord speed, is a little bit lacking in this game. He hasn't seen this drop at all.
The Overlord speed. Sick.
Speed, spread, speed.
There's
a
little bit of everything.
Combination of both.
That would be sick then. But yes, that was alright. That went surprisingly well for Jaedong. It was kind of funny how it was a little bit of an anti-timing because he took that big fight like 8 seconds before his +2 armor finished up. But in the end, it turned out okay. He just had those few extra Banelings that got a few connections that he was looking for. And now he has a very, very healthy mutant number. Oh, this Viking actually spots all these morphing Banelings. A few of them will get picked off, but Jaedong saves the majority of them. And that's very important. He has to worry about this 4th base though. Like, doing economic damage against the Terran play is great. But if you never get your 4th base up as a Zerg, eventually the power of the mule.
Couple of good hits there from the Banelings. They get a couple of bad hits on the Thor, but they do clean it up. There was a drop going on at the same time from Polt, but didn't really do too much. The Mulists have done a lot more than this drop has. Only 3 drones killed and a lot more SCVs. I think it's 11 have been killed there, if I can see correctly. Pretty good play so far from Jaedong. His creep spread is not too bad, but he still does not have a 4th base up and running. Polt's going to pressure it once again. And Jaedong must defend this area.
Yeah, eventually you really want to keep this 4th base alive, and this is one of these moments. He does have a few creep tumors here though, and that's so important. He still has a lot of active tumors as well. That's really going to help him. He throws on the infestation pit, so that kind of gives us the idea, alright, is Jaedong getting ready to go up to Hive? I feel this game is a little too action-packed to get away with that right now. The supplies are close, the mutant number is okay, but of course, because he's been so active with them, he did lose a few of them. He lost 4 so far. It would be a ballsy move to go up to Hive now, but if he gets away with it, then obviously it's the correct move.
That's right, but I don't think he will get away with it. That's the problem right now, because Polt's not going to let go. He's going to try and re-establish his 2nd base from the Mutilus, and then we're going to see nothing but parade pushes to this location right here. A good scan. He can't get to the creep tubers, unfortunately. There are 3 or 4 Widowmines back here. He's going to stint backwards, and these Banelings, oh my gosh, as the Widowmines hit these, unfortunately, none of them actually go down on that, and so the Banelings go right the way through. That could have been a completely different story. Oh, there is the final Baneling hit.
11. 11
dear.
banelings died to that single Widow Mine. I must say that was a little silly. I felt that Jaedong was almost right-clicking with his banelings. He wasn't attack moving, because if he would have been attack moving, I think those banelings would have kind of like spread out, you know, they would have shattered around the screen. And now instead they just all rolled around in a ball. So eventually Polt does get one connection with those Widow Mines that he's looking for. But, you know, even those even trades, the 3-3 is halfway done. He's still pressuring this port base. Jaedong really needs to win this battle decisively. The Widow Mine is actually dealing damage to the Taurs.
Great pickup there from the 3-4 Medivacs. The Mulists come back to try and help this out as they will push back from the second base after killing quite a few SCVs once again. Here's the unload from Polt here, but the Banelings are trying to get some detonations. There's not too many of them.
No way.
And pretty good spread. Planetary Fortress fortifying this area as well.
Yep.
And Polt continues to hold on. And with a 4th base mining for Polt, not a 4th base mining for Jaedong here. And even though he is a little bit below in the regular SCV counts, he has a higher supply, and of course Mule's still available, and 3-3 not far away.
Yeah, that final part of that battle went very poorly for Jaedong. He was down in supply, and like you mentioned, the Planetary Fortress really making it impossible for Jaedong to break that.
And another great pickup here, forcing Jaedong into a fight, picks up minimal losses. Again, Mulus on this second base. It's been a problem throughout the game here that Polt has continued to lose SCVs in this location. That's why his SCV count is lower than it should be. Jaedong continues to hold. He has that 4th base. He's at the hive. He's trying to get 3-3 upgrades. He's building spines to hold this left-hand side area.
I still think that 55 SCVs, when you're in this phase of the game and all your infrastructure is down already, I think that's more than fine. You know, he has triple orbital, 1 Planetary Fortress. You don't really need more than 55, so it's not like Polt is hurting for SCVs. It's annoying, it's frustrating, but he's been dealing with it very, very well. Jaedong has not done critical economic damage.
No, and this area has now been locked down with a couple of turrets. A drop on the left-hand side here, looking to bring Jaedong's attention elsewhere, and of course, more importantly, do damage. And these Mulists caught in the middle of, oh my gosh, they're absolutely caught here, flying into the main base, an area you don't want to go at all. 2 mines burrow. There's Marines absolutely everywhere. Can Jaedong escape with these?
He's still going to try. Man, Polt is doing this so well. Really good movement there on his bio army. He killed the majority of these Mulists.
And well dropping right at the back of Jaedong's base, the furthest position away for him to defend. And drone's going to go down. The spawning pool could go down. He does bring some Zerglings to come help deal with this. But 3-3 is completed. Good micro there from Polt. He's going to have to pick up versus the Banelings, but his attention is elsewhere currently.
What's the deal with that evolution chamber? That's evolution chamber number 3.
Do not know. Do not know.
I was just like, he's going to cancel one of the upgrades. No, he's not. But he's researching both of them. That's really strange.
Well, this game continues on here. Jaedong, 160 supply. A bad fight here could cost him the game. Polt looking to close this up 2-0 and find himself in the winner's match of Group B.
I mean, Polt has played a pretty damn good game so far, and he's still in a really good position, but eventually he's going to have to push the issue a little bit harder, because Jaedong's 3-3 upgrades are halfway done now, and I think it would be a mistake for Polt to ever even fight a 3-3 Jaedong. Like, he really doesn't have to. If we take a look at the army supply right now, we can see that it's 131 against 94. As a Terran player, being up that much, that was a good little pickup there for Jaedong.
Well, if he picks off this Planetary Fortress, this could be huge, especially if he holds on to the left-hand side of this map. The Banelings come through to help deal with this as well. Everything is here for Jaedong. The Banelings detonate on the floor. Not the best of trades here. Is he going to get the Planetary?
He's close, but oh my god!
He's
circling. No!
He spends so much on that. So many units on the Planetary Fortress. It doesn't go down. And now at the end of it, the Planetary Fortress lives. Likewise does Polt's army. Jaedong got pretty much nothing out of that trade. And from this position onwards, look at the supply. It's a 60 supply difference. Polt looking to close this game up, take this 2-0. Here comes the push. Jaedong building 8 Banelings. We know that's not enough. There's a couple here, but good spreads. Despite being at 3-3 here for Jaedong, Polt has a lot of units, and this should be enough to win the game.
Those connections were okay for Jaedong, but this is not going to be enough because he doesn't have a follow-up anymore. He just doesn't have a real army. He threw so much at that Planetary Fortress, but he didn't get it. It was kind of weird how he did it. He was running around with those Banelings for a while. He could have been, you know, just a lot more burst damage initially. He does hang on to that 4th base for a bit, though. Jaedong has been microing really well. It's a minefield over here as a couple of Widow Mines get, well, not the greatest shots of ever. And he picks them off.
All credit to Jaedong, though. He's been holding on for a long time in this game. Despite not really effectively mining from that left-hand side, he's continuing to fight aggressively off creep, yet still in this game. He's always behind in this game, but he's still in it. And Polt, though, if he takes a new base and mines from that bottom left-hand side base, takes a Planetary, goes uncontested, he's in trouble. Jaedong must not allow that to happen.
In a weird way, this 5th base is helping Jaedong a little bit because I think Polt is going to be worried about defending it. No, actually, he's going to deal with all these circlings with his reinforcements, and he still has his army in the middle of the map, couple of Banelings trying to get dream connections while Polt is distracted, but it just didn't really work. And the supply, it's getting sadder and sadder for Jaedong. He's going up to a great Aspire now, but unfortunately for Jaedong, I don't think Brood Lords will ever see the day of light.
GG. Polt takes 2-0 here and advances in first. Well, goes through to the winners match, excuse me, advancing to the winners game where he will play for first place in San Jose. Jaedong drops down to the lower bracket game and will have to play off against first.
And that's a tricky one as well, because first is PvZ is pretty good. I know that he dropped in against, or that he dropped the series earlier today against Revival, but it's not easy for Jaedong. This is one of the most important moments. Look at these Banelings, Sean. They're very indecisive.
These ones on the right-hand side decided to come to attack the Marines, and the Thor, they didn't really do anything. If they'd gone straight for the planetary, he wouldn't have had to bring the back Banelings in. And unfortunately, that pretty much put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, even if he gets the planetary, that's of course great. Picking off a 4th base is always awesome, but he would still have to worry about that army from Polt.
Yeah.
And now when Polt pushed that 4th base, he was not really splitting his Marines anymore, so like the very few Banelings that Jaedong had did get dream connections. But I think if Polt loses that 4th base, then he's going to pay a lot more attention, because then he's like, all right, I know that I'm still in an okay position, but I do have to do an incredible amount of damage with this army to make sure that you're not able to hang in there a little longer. And I think he would have actually lost that 4th base immediately if Polt would have split up his units a little better, or how we often say, like pre-split, like before the fight even starts, what Bomber always does in this matchup. Solid series by Polt, a little bit unfortunate for Jaedong, and there were definitely opportunities for him in both games, but especially on merry-go-round. Like that was, Jaedong didn't have to lose that game, at least not in that way.
And in the way that he did it can almost kind of fuel the rest of the series. Making a big mistake like that can put you off a little bit, and then you're just not going to play the best you could have played. But it is Polt who makes it to the winners match on Saturday, and he will be going up against an old teammate and current type of teammate as well, both sponsored by CM Storm. Of course, Revival, both TSL members way back in the day. They've known each other for multiple years. But Polt must be feeling confident to take a first place in that group on Saturday. Yeah,
I think in general he has done very well against his teammates. I do think Revival beat Polt in one WCS Season 2, the one that we played in Cologne. I could be mistaken, but I think back then Revival defeated Polt like 3-1 in the quarterfinals. But overall, I think Polt always feels good going up against Revival. And hey, just 2-0 Jaedong, you know, the same matchup, same preparation perhaps. Polt looked good. He looked solid. Didn't really play too risky. Didn't roll the dice. Overall, a very good performance. And I'm curious to see what Captain America himself has to say about it as he's joining Paul on the couch.
Yeah, thank you, Roddy. Yeah, I'm with Polt now. Congratulations. Another solid win for you. Talk to us about how your approach was to Jaedong. He's always a difficult player to play against, but you seem to have quite a lot of success against him.
Yeah, I think currently PvZ is a bit favored for tyrant. Players think like that, but I think it's kind of very close to 50-50. Anyways, well, at least tyrant is not bad. That means if I do something correctly, then I win. So I just focused on my thing. No matter what Jaedong does, if I do what I supposed to do correctly, then I win, and I did it.
Yeah, you did. Do you think that he made a couple of mistakes? There was Baneling speed was missing in one of the games, I think game 1. Second game, he had the opportunity to take the annual planetary, and he didn't take it. He kind of looked like he was going to go for the Thor, and then he went back, and then you saved that planetary as well. Do you think there were some mistakes in there from Jaedong?
I think first game was definitely a mistake. It was way too late, the Baneling speed was. And the second game, it's kind of, I don't know if it was intended or a mistake. But I just tried to save the planetary with SCVs and pull the Marines, everything far from the planetary so it doesn't hit by Banelings. And I think he didn't know what to attack. But if we focus on...
So you confused him? Yeah, you confused him?
Maybe.
Maybe. So you're going to go on to San Jose now. Going to go and play in a big stadium. And I know we've talked before about this. You like playing in studios when it's nice and quiet and it's the right temperature and it's calm. But now you have to go on a big stage in front of a lot of people and playing against your teammate on the stage. So how different is that going to be for you?
Well, there are pros and cons in the studio. There are less fans, but the condition is much better for me. But in the studio, well, it's actually not better for me to play well. But there are a lot of fans, and the fancy studio makes me feel very, I don't know what to say, but anyways, it makes me feel like I have to win here. So it kind of helps me.
Are you? I know you were born in Korea, but are you like half American now? Because you've been here for a while, and the American fans love you, and they give you nicknames, and they shout your name.
Yeah, I know that, and well, actually, I've been enjoying the life in America. It's really cool. Besides some specific things from Korea, I can get everything here. So maybe here's better to live.
Wow. Okay. So good support for America. Nice place to live. That's what Polt says. When you go on to San Jose, a lot of people are talking about Rain being potentially the strongest player in all of the groups. Other people are saying maybe Polt can be champion at IEM. What do you say to them?
I got a second place in the beginning of this year at IEM Cologne. So I think this is a time to get the trophy.
Time to pick up an IEM trophy, the first one.
Yes.
And it'll be a big one at San Jose.
And I will get the ticket to the Katowice again.
Ah, see, now I like this now, because a couple of years ago, when we had the Korean players started to come into the Intel Extreme Masters, they weren't always aware that if they won a tournament, they would end up going to Katowice and playing on a big stage. I mean, CJ Hero, he said, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know I get to go and play at this stadium. But now everyone knows about it. Everyone wants to win an Intel Extreme Masters so they can play in front of Katowice.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been there. The stage was really cool. Just I hope only one thing. No, that winner takes all.
You can blame me for that.
More.
That was my fault. Okay, so my bad. Hopefully Carmack doesn't do that this year and we do it normally, all right? I'll have a word with him. I'll have a word with him. Thank you very much, Polt. We'll see you in San Jose in a couple of days' time. Just a quick reminder for you as well, we won't be broadcasting tomorrow on Friday. We'll be busy hammering it up on the freeways to get there, not too fast, of course, but to get to San Jose with all of the players and all of the admins and all of the production staff heading up there to the SAP Centre in downtown San Jose. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll bring you the remainder of the group games that we haven't played today. And of course, then move on to the quarters, the semis, and the grand final. So make sure you've got your ticket. If you haven't already got your ticket, head over to the ticket store right now and use the code REDEYE or Rotterdam or Apollo if you want, and you'll get a discount on the tickets as well. And keep your eye out for some special notes at the bottom of the screen during the matches, because we are giving away a few free tickets as well. We're going to take a quick break, but after the break, we'll head into Group C for more StarCraft 2.